We saw in the previous example how to expand a product of two binomials using FOIL. Starting with the first term, you multiply it to the second bracket, and then you move on to the second term times it to the second bracket. When it comes to something that looks more complicated, we're going to use the same concepts again. Starting with the first term, you multiply. And then once you're done with these three, you move on to the next one. Multiply it, multiply it, and multiply it. The concept is pretty simple. Very similar to the concept of FOIL. So if I want to multiply a binomial by a polynomial, what I'm going to do is to follow the same concept. Multiply it once. 3 times 5 give us 15. And x squared times x squared give us x to the 4. Then the next one, be careful with the sign. Then the last one, but we are not quite done yet, because we've just multiplied the 3x squared into the second bracket. I need to move on to the next one, the negative 5. Times it by this. Times it by that. Negative times negative give us positive. And finally, the last one. If you see any like terms, don't forget to group the like terms together. But in this case, it seems like we don't have any like terms. And that means you would just end up with this polynomial. Can't simplify it any further. And we stop here. You may also see something that looks more complicated. When I'm to expand and simplify it, I will follow BATMAS. I will do the multiplication first using the method similar to the previous one, example 5a. And before I do the subtraction, before I minus that, I need to deal with the expansion first, the square that I see from the second group. I'm going to expand the first group minus the second group. I'm going to leave out the minus at the beginning. Simplify this, expand it, and then expand it. And once I'm done with the expansion, I will then do the minus in the middle. So from start to finish, here is what I would do. Distribute, distribute, and distribute. That's only for the first one. I need the second one. You need some patience when you expand polynomial like this. These are the things that we've obtained from the first group. Second group, we have 2x minus 3 times 2x minus 3. When you want to expand your square, we will end up with 4x squared. This is basically FOIL. Minus 6x for the outside, and then minus 6x again for the inside, and finally plus 9. You can choose to simplify the bracket first and then subtract one bracket by the other. But I'm going to just do everything in one single step. It should still be relatively easy to handle. Starting with the highest degree. That's the only term that comes with x cubed. Then 8x squared minus 3x squared, that gives us 5x squared. 5x squared minus 4x squared. 5x squared minus 4x squared, 1x squared. Or simply x squared. And then we can move on to the x term. Minus 20x minus 2x, that gives us minus 22x. Minus 22x, and seeing how we have minus 12x from the second group. Minus 22x from the first one, minus 12x here, you will end up getting a plus from here. So this turns into negative 22x plus 12x. And finally, plus 5 minus plus 9. Plus and minus combined together give us a minus. So that turns into 5 minus 9. Minus 4. And that will give us a polynomial, a third degree polynomial. In this example, I want to bring up something important. First one, when you want to multiply polynomials together, the highest degree of your polynomial comes from the product of the highest degree, the highest term from each of the brackets. So 4x times 3x squared. These two terms has the highest degree from each of them. As you multiply them, they will give us the highest degree. And secondly, the second thing that I want to emphasize is that the square that you see here is not the same as this. They are not the same. Don't put an equal sign between those two. You cannot just bring the square into the bracket because we have a minus in between 2x and 3a, and the 2x and the 3. When you were to square 2x minus 3, you are going to multiply 2x minus 3 by another 2x minus 3. The reason why we can bring in the square for this example here is that when you multiply this one by exactly the same thing here, given we have no plus or minus, we can simply multiply the 2 by the 2, the x by the x, and then the y squared by the y squared. Therefore, giving us 2 squared, x squared, and the square of y squared. But when it comes to a binomial, the square of a binomial involve multiplying this by that. And because of the minus in the middle, or plus in the middle, you need to actually expand it by FOIL. You cannot just distribute the square into each of the single term inside the bracket.